I find that a lot of people feel that if I'm just going to talk to somebody, why do I need to talk to a professional? I can talk to anybody else. There's nothing special about that. And what is that person going to tell me that I've not heard already? I hear that quite a bit. Therapists are trained. They're trained professional. The other thing too with people not seeking help, because there's a lot of misconception. If I go for therapy, what if they come and take away my kids? Like if they find out that my husband, let's say, there's domestic violence, they may take away my kids. Right, so there's still a lot of misconception, especially being in Canada, not understanding the laws of Canada, not knowing what abuse are and things like that. So it's hard.
Hi everyone, welcome to Afros in the Diaspora, the Experts Corner. This is a series that aims to empower, educate, and support immigrants, whether you're new to Canada or you've been in Canada for a while and you're still finding your feet. Each episode features professionals and community leaders who share practical guides and insights on everything from finances and housing to mental health. We acknowledge the support of Africa Centre and the Canada Service Corps for making the Black Youth Leadership Program possible and helping us create spaces where Black and immigrant voices can thrive. My name is Sarah Owajai. I'm your host. Let's go. Today, we have an absolutely amazing guest, Ayen Mabor. Ayen is a registered social worker and mental health therapist with over 20 years of experience supporting individuals and families through life's challenges. She is a Black refugee from South Sudan and a graduate from the University of Calgary. She brings compassion, deep compassion and lived understanding to her work to create safe and judgment-free spaces for healing. Ayen, welcome to the Afros in the Diaspora podcast. It's such an honor to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're about to dive into this episode. This is the Expert Series, and we're going to focus on your work as a mental health counselor. So, before we go into all that, Ayen, would you mind sharing with us your immigration story?
Well, I'm not too sure how much you know about South Sudan. South Sudan is a country that struggled with war for decades. So I am, like you said, I'm a refugee from South Sudan. I came to Canada, was lucky to come to Canada, got a scholarship. It was under the refugee status, got a scholarship and went to University of Regina. That's where I did my first degree in social work, Bachelor's of Social Work from University of Regina, and then worked for a few years and did other things, and then came to Calgary, and I went back and did my master's in social work here in University of Calgary.
Right. Wonderful. And what drew you to this field, like social work, mental health counseling? Was it something personal? Was it a calling you discovered along the way?
It is a calling I discovered along the way, but also being a refugee, there's a lot of support on the way. Like a lot of people have really supported and helped me up to this point. And I've always felt like, wow, this is what I would like to do to help people too, to give back what has been given to me. So that's how I started in social work, actually, before doing the therapy portion of things. But doing social work, that's how I felt. I wanted a profession, a helping profession, because I was helped along the way. Being a refugee, being an immigrant also to this country, there was a lot of people that helped.
That is true. I feel like community, in the very different ways that it evolves, it plays such an amazing role in supporting us. So thank you for shedding some light on that. What is one misconception about therapy and mental health and counseling that you find yourself correcting the most?
I find that a lot of people feel that if I'm just going to talk to somebody, why do I need to talk to a professional? I can talk to anybody else. There's nothing special about that. And what is that person going to tell me that I've not heard already? I hear that quite a bit. Therapists are trained. They're trained professional. They know what people go through. They understand what people go through. They're trained to help you see things from a different perspective. Again, sometimes life can be very, very hard. Having somebody to help you digest what you're going through, process what you've seen, process what you've heard, it needs somebody who's trained. And a lot of therapists are well trained to understand human suffering, to understand what people go through.
Yeah, and like I've heard so many of those comments is ridiculous. I'm like, oh, therapy. Isn't that just for mad people or crazy people?
And that's another thing, the stigma with therapy. Therapy is only for somebody who's crazy.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Why do I need therapy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one I've heard so much. Or like, just pray. Just go to God in prayer. Or just, turn to whatever religion and just hold on to your God. Or, like those are things that I've heard in my own life that like, oh, I'm feeling down. Pray! You're a child of God. And I'm like, oh, please, this is not what I need right now.
And there's nothing wrong with praying.
Yeah.
Praying is good too.
Yeah.
You should pray too. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, talking to a professional truly helps you with that. A lot of people, again, I talked about being a refugee and coming from a country where there's war. People have gone through a lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma.
Yep.
You need support with that. You need support from somebody who's trained in trauma and trauma therapy to help you process that.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of stigma if you have somebody, let's say, from your community, you're worried about the confidentiality too. That's a big one. People are afraid that, well, if I go to somebody who knows me or knows my community, will they be talking about me to their friends?
Yeah.
No, therapists are professional.
Yeah.
They're bound by certain ethics and regulations and things like that. So no, they will not talk about you.
Yeah. Thank you for clearing that up. I know, like and sometimes it feels like redundant. I'm sure you hear it almost every day. So it's like, oh my gosh, are people still thinking like this? But they are.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
And like it's conversations like these that help us, evolve in our thinking. So one thing that is not talked about, I find, is people, like the grief that comes with immigrating and leaving your home, whatever situation. Like in yours, it's refugee, moving as a refugee. And my own, I moved here as a student. And like, even within, like we talked earlier, and I talked about like how I didn't even know that there was privilege within immigration. The choice to be like, oh, I want to move for school versus there is war in your country, you have no choice. You know what I mean? And people don't even realize that there's privilege within that. Like you get the choice, meanwhile some people do not even have that choice. And so there's a lot of grief around immigration in the very different ways, whether a person chooses to live as a student or live as a family, as a PR, working, looking for better, greener pastures, or whatever the reason may be. But people don't realize that there's grief. And sometimes it's just, I just have to move, I just have to make money, I just have to, I just have to survive. But oftentimes people don't like take the time to actually process, and then it hits them in front. You know what I mean? Like a while goes by and then they hit a wall and they're like, why am I feeling so overwhelmed, or why am I getting easily angry, or it just comes out in a certain way. Can you talk more about that, please?
Well, there's a sense of loss, whether it's a choice you made to move, or you're pushed, the pull and push factor of immigration, whether that, it doesn't matter. There's a sense of loss. You do lose your community. You lost your friends, family members. You're moving by yourself with your children maybe. Maybe you're moving by yourself with no children. Maybe you're coming to school. You've left everybody behind. You've left the things that you know. You've left it behind. So there's a sense of loss, definitely. And sometimes it's not some of the things that you can anticipate. You may even know that, yes, when I move to Canada, I will feel some grief. But until you come, until you experience it, you don't know how hard this is until you experience it. So again, I don't know whether it's something that you could really prepare for. Probably you can and say, you know what, I know I'm going to be sad, but how sad are you going to be? The things that you thought you would not miss, you may miss them. The person that you thought, oh, thank God, I'm going to leave them behind. Maybe that's the person you're really going to miss. You would want to hear their voice one more time, right? So yes, there's a sense of loss. There's a sense of grief for sure.
What are some of the most common mental health struggles that you have found amongst immigrants or newcomers that that you meet? What would you say are some of the most, I mean, other than this grief, I feel like sometimes it might, in my experience, right? And for some people that I know, sometimes it manifests in different ways where it's like, oh, I'm just sad all the time. Or I just, like there's a sense of anxiety about like, what am I going to do? What if I don't make it in my school and they have to deport me? What if what if I can't? What if I this? What if I that? What would you find are some of the most like common struggles from like newcomers or immigrants that you found?
So again, I wouldn't say necessarily what's the most common. I'll speak in general mental health. Again, this anxiety and this depression, definitely. Again, depending what you've experienced, where you're coming from. A lot of us, like we talked already about war and things like that, some people have come from places where they've experienced trauma. So there could be trauma that people experience when they come. The other thing is that, again, people could have even mental health struggles even before coming to Canada. There's a lot of mental health, other things going on. They could struggle with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. All those are there. They could be there even before immigrating to this country. So again, I've seen a variety for sure, right? But yes, there's depression, anxiety, people struggling with trauma, PTSD, yeah.
Okay, so one other thing I have found, and I didn't know, having a conversation with a friend, and she's like, are there Black counselors? Are there Black therapists? Because, when you see all these ads on social media and whatever, it's mostly white folks. Or if you Google, like therapists around me, near me, or in Calgary, like mostly white faces will show up. And then it's a thing of like, well, they are not going to understand my struggles, or they're not going to understand my experiences. And so there are people that don't even know, or that are just learning that no, they're therapists from all countries, from all races, from every, demographic that you're looking for. So can you talk more about that? Like how people can access like resources, like people like yourself, like counseling people, counselors like you who exist, but people don't know that you exist because, again, when they look around, you're not the first faces that they see. So what would you say are some of these like resources where people can actually go to find like culturally supportive support, basically?
That's a good question. And maybe also some of us also maybe really want to do a lot of, some of us should do a lot of this, like what we're doing right now, really reaching out and talking more and really advertising ourselves and showing that we are there. Like there are Black counselors out there too. And I don't have the statistics for sure, how many are there, I don't know, but we are there. We are there, right? So again, there are places, again, for immigrants, for example, there is SIWA, there is it's called the Calgary Immigrant Women Association. There are places like Psychology Today. You can Google and see there's a lot of therapists, there's lots of therapists on that platform. So again, Google places like that. And even just put on Google, maybe Black therapist and see if somebody will come up and see. When you call places that offer counseling, ask for a Black therapist. Say, I would like to see a Black therapist. Do you have diverse therapists? Do you have a Black therapist? Ask for that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that they could ask for
it. You can ask.
I think sometimes it's just like, that's what's there. That's what I have to do.
Yeah.
Like people don't realize that they have a say, like an agency for that.
They do. You can ask for a Black therapist. And if they do have, they will tell you. They will say, yeah, we do. Maybe we can. Or maybe if they don't, that's okay. People can only say we don't have. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But ask.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so what would you, and I know, just before I go to the next question, I know like platforms like the Alberta Black Therapists Network.
Yes.
That's another one.
That
I found out about a couple years ago when I was working on a project, and I'm like, where are they?
What about the Africa Center? I thought they did. I thought maybe asking there too.
Oh,
the
okay.
Africa Center, yeah.
Okay.
Asking that too. What do they know? So again, just asking.
Just asking,
Just asking.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
just asking.
Because even like I'm sure the Center for Newcomers, and we're just naming like
Yes, we're just
resources
naming.
right now, like people where people can actually go and find support that will
Yes.
be helpful and impactful for
And
them.
Calgary Counseling Center too, they go on a sliding scale. Again, ask them if you want a Black therapist. Ask for or any nationality that you're looking for. Ask.
Just ask.
Yes, Calgary
Okay.
Counseling Center
Wonderful.
too. Yeah, there's Catholic family services as well.
Okay.
There's that. So there's a lot. The other thing I also say, call 211. That's an Alberta number. They have all the resources for community resources.
They have therapists there too?
Well, ask, they will tell you who offers counseling. So I always tell
Wow.
my clients to call 211 and see what they have.
Okay.
That's an Alberta number,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
211.
211.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
211.
I'm learning so much.
Yeah, just
This
ask
is
that
awesome.
I'm looking for counseling. What organization offer counseling? What organization offer counseling for immigrants, let's say? And they'll tell you. And if there's any new updates, they'll have it.
Okay, that's good. That's really good that there's a central place people can call in. And like money is another barrier where people are like, I have to pay $200 for 1 hour? I'm making $20 an hour. How do I, and sometimes it's just something people are not, they're just like, if it's between going to a therapist or paying my light bill, I'll pay my light bill. And sometimes people are not just fiscally or financially in a place where they can invest, because I will call it an investment into their mental health, where they can put that money away. Do you know of any like resources that are more affordable that people can go to, where people can receive support, where they really need the help but they can't really like afford $300? But like sometimes the costs really do intimidate people and it really can pose a barrier. Do you have any like recommendations or anything like that?
So therapy is hefty for sure. Therapy can be expensive. And that's a barrier. Definitely, private therapy can be expensive for sure. I mentioned Calgary Counseling Center. I said they're sliding scale. The other again, I also like 211. Call 211 and ask them who offers sliding scale. And see if they would offer that. The other thing too is that when you go, let's say psychology today, and you find somebody that you like, don't be shy. Let them know that, you know what, I cannot afford the $200 that you're offering. Do you offer sliding scale?
Oh, people can do that.
Yes, there's no harm. And I think if there's anything I'm gonna say today, there's no harm in asking. Always ask. And I know many of us also come from cultures where asking, it feels sometimes like I'm begging. Oh my God, I don't want to beg for anything. And I know that with I being a South Sudanese, I know that that's a big one. Ask. It's not a sign of weakness at all. I know amazing therapists that do. They will give sliding scale.
Oh.
They will do that. Okay. So always ask. If there's anything today really I'm going to emphasize on,
just ask.
Ask.
Okay.
Reach out. Ask. When you Google somebody, even if they say their fees is about $200, let them know that, I see that your fees is this, but I cannot afford this. Do you do sliding scale? And see what they say.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I know that Alberta Therapist Network, like I mentioned before, I think I saw on their website or something that they do get grants to have like subsidized therapy sessions for people who need that support and who need that help. Okay. So organizations like that are so impactful, but you're completely right. Like, just ask. There's no harm in asking. No. And sometimes it's like, it's a no-brainer, but sometimes it's so weird how sometimes we may need some sort of like validation or permission to just do it. I was like, I have free will. I could just ask.
And people can say no.
Yeah, they can say no, and you move on. Exactly.
And you move on, and that's okay. It's not
wonderful.
Yeah.
So okay, moving on. Many immigrants feel guilty for leaving loved ones behind, or doing better abroad, or just even being abroad, and the sense that, oh, things are better in quotes, how can they sometimes how can they manage that guilt, that pressure? And sometimes it comes with financial responsibilities too, that okay, now you're abroad, we need help with grandma, she's sick, in the village, and she needs, and meanwhile you're just struggling to stay afloat. Like, that's the reality of a lot of immigrants, where like there's the black tax, where you're like, oh, okay, you're the one that's doing well. They feel, because you're now outside of the situation that they know. So without any understanding of what life really is like where you are, there's this level of expectation where it's like, oh, okay, mommy needs money for this. Oh, I would like to buy a car. Oh, like there's all these expectations, and sometimes it can be really back-breaking.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like the level of like, now everyone's looking at you like, oh, you've left us. Ooh, you're, so, and sometimes there's some guilt with that, or there's some pressure with that. Oh, now I have to do well or else. And people burn themselves out without really having anywhere to like have some ease, because they don't feel like they're even entitled to it, because I'm here, I have to work. If not, or like there's that level of pressure put on ourselves. Like, how would you say that people can manage that guilt and that
So
pressure?
again, I always differentiate guilt in this unhealthy guilt, and there's the healthy guilt and an unhealthy guilt. A healthy guilt is when I've done something wrong, hurt someone. That's healthy. It's important to feel guilty. But the unhealthy guilt, where you're feeling guilty for like some of the things that you have mentioned, right? Again, I always say, is that a healthy guilt? That's one. The other thing is that, remember, you were there before. You were there, and you all survived without you being in Canada. Always remind yourself that, like, these people survived without you being in Canada. You were there. People were surviving without you being in Canada. And are you really doing them a service? Really making them expect the things that you don't have?
Yeah.
And who is losing here when you send everything, let's say? Who's losing? It's probably you.
It's
maybe
you.
your kids. Maybe your kids actually.
Yeah. Oh,
maybe your
yeah,
kids even.
kids.
If you have kids.
Yeah.
Then you're not able to also provide for them and things like that. So always remembering that the people have lived. They've survived before, and they'll continue to survive. Right?
Yeah.
So always reminding yourself of that.
Yeah. And I think, yes, absolutely, reminding yourself and just refusing to carry that weight. And it does happen to be that, though, the reality sometimes for some families is you're their hope. You know what I mean? You're their hope. And, maybe, a community came together to put money towards you moving, your education, whatever the case may be. And so now it's like, oh, she's going to make it and she's going to help us. And so sometimes, like, even if you came as a student, now you have to work this job and study and pay your fees yourself. So there's a lot, like, it's a lot on your back, on a person's back. And so sometimes, like, it's as easy as saying, I'm not going to carry that pressure, while sometimes the pressure is there and it feels heavy.
And yes, because you feel like you owe a lot of people behind.
Yeah.
You owe a lot of people that made this work for you.
Yes.
But again, is it really realistic to give what you don't have? And making them expect that you could do all these things that you really cannot. That's another thing. And I think being realistic even from the beginning, letting people know what you could do for them and what you are unable to do for them.
Right.
And they may not believe it. And it's something that you have to be okay with.
Right.
That, I may not convince everybody to believe that Canada is hard or my situation is hard. I'm not able to give you what you're asking, because you may be able to provide, let's say, $100, $200, but for them may not be enough. And that's all you can give.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. So I think being honest with what you could do, really what you could do, and really trying to know that I may not convince everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being okay living
With
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
The statistics with how many families stay together with regards to marriage. When married people move here, the likelihood that they're still going to be together after 2 years is extremely low. Whether it's because, like, you know, the culture back home is very different, and here it's very, very different. Women have more of a voice here. Here, men have to also take care of their kids and cook in the kitchen. You know what I mean? So things where, like, in some people's culture, not to generalize at all, some people's culture where it's like, oh, I'm the man of the house. I sit down and my meal is served to me, and I'm the breadwinner. But you move here and you were a lawyer back home, but now you can't be a lawyer right away, or all these things. So so many things play a role into why relationships break down. But what would you say is one thing that you have observed that plays such a big role in it?
Well, I don't think there's a one thing too.
Oh,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you've mentioned a few as well. Like you mentioned the role reversal too. There's a lot of pressure immigrating, of course, to a new country, the isolation, again, no support, employment, like we talked about, you just mentioned that there's employment, there's financial barriers. You've mentioned that, again, either you're underemployed or not employed at all, right? So those also contributes to a lot of this stress in the family. Accessing resources, counseling, like we talked about, that counseling can be expensive. And not only that, finding resources that are tailored towards immigrants, or let's say tailored towards the culture, let's say understands some of those role reversal that you talked about. The dynamic, the family dynamics too. So you could have resources there, but if you don't have appropriate resources, how helpful are those resources?
Right.
So there's so many factors. I'm not able to mention just one factor. There's so many factors. There's the grief and loss, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, because, like, even with kids, right? Because kids come here and in 6 months they have the accent. They have the Canadian accent. They're like their level of assimilation is a lot faster and a lot more ahead of their parents, right? And so that starts to cause friction. I have a friend of mine who we're just talking, and she said she moved here with her mom. She was in high school. Her mom was here for work, and she eventually settled here. But her mom was just craving home. Her mom was just like, how much longer do I have to be here? Oh, I miss my people, the language, the this and that. And the young girl's like,
I'm good.
I want to stay here. I don't know what you're talking about leaving. I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And that caused a rift.
Yeah.
Right? Because now, even within the young girl, like, she herself was finding ways to code switch and to assimilate into this new country, this new culture, trying to get rid of her own accent, to not be bullied in school or to fit in. So in both people, even though they're, maybe generations apart, are facing the same things and navigating the same things differently. But how would you say could be a way where they can reconnect? Because there's stress from both ends, even though sometimes African parents are like, what are you stressing about? What do you have to be worried about? You're not paying, you just go to school, do your assignment and come home, that's it. What are you talking about, precious? You're not paying any bills. But the reality of the matter is we all face stresses, right? And we all are trying to make it. Even younger folks, whether we like it or not. But what would you say could be some ways where, like, they could find, like, reconnection in even though they're facing the same things in different contexts and navigating them differently. So instead of it to cause a rift, it can build connection. Like, what is something what's an advice you can give for something like that, for instance?
So again, there's so many, like you mentioned, a few things that happens that causes that rift. And again, depending what background you are, some parents come here with no language at all. Then you find that the kids are the one that are becoming the interpreters, right? They go to the hospital, they do the interpretation, and the kids also have a lot of power. So when they're doing things like that, so that also can cause a lot of rift and a lot of issues there too. It's easy for me to say, as a mental health therapist, to say, you know what, go for therapy, go for family therapy, that helps. But we already spoke about how expensive therapy therapy can be, right? And things like that, right? So I know I always also encourage our communities, like since a lot of the Africans, for example, we like to go to churches. We like to do things like that. I wish that the clergy people would be more informed in mental health, in immigration difficulties, and things like that. Because I find that sometimes, even in my community, they have a lot of access to the families, right? So if they're quite informed in some of these challenges, they would help a lot too. Navigate some of the, because I know that sometimes they're the people that are called to come and support the families too, right? So that's my wish, that they're trained, or just maybe be more educated and I know some communities are, but I'm talking about with some of the communities that are not. I'm hoping that they will get more of that kind of education to be able to support their community. And of course, doing things as a family together, even simple things like eating together as a family, listening to each other. You may not agree with what your daughter is saying, but just listen. You may get something out of it.
Right.
I know we as immigrants or immigrant parents, sometimes we want our children to have the back home culture. This is culture. This is how things are. Even culture changes. Culture is dynamic too. So being open to changes, of course, good changes, right? And supporting your child to adjust and be there so that they can come to you and tell you, Mom, this happened, or Dad, somebody wanted to give me something to smoke, or something, instead of
hiding.
Or instead of hiding it, or instead of you as a dad losing your cool, this is your chance to really talk about the risk of let's say drugs, or the risk of whatever they come and talk about. But again, that also goes with support for the parents.
Right.
They really need that support too. Right. And that's why I always say community elders, community leaders, be more, that awareness about some of the struggles of immigrants, because they're the ones that have access to the community, and they're the ones that the family probably are going to reach out to them more.
And when you said it earlier, like this religious figures, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Those are the people.
Yeah.
Like even for premarital counseling, people would rather go to a pastor than go to an actual counselor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes like the advice that people are given,
they have a lot of powers.
They have a lot of power, and sometimes, and I don't believe that there's any malintent. I just
not
believe
at all.
They don't know any better. Like you were saying, like some level of education needs to be like done, like that investment to educate and to build knowledge and to build an understanding of how powerful they are. Because like if a woman is facing abuse at home and the pastor says she should stay because divorce is a sin, she's going to stay.
She's going to stay.
You know what I mean? And things will literally have to escalate really bad for her to be like, it's a sin, but I have to leave.
And maybe a point of no return.
Or maybe a point of no return.
You know?
And so sometimes maybe they're aware of how powerful they are, maybe they're not, I don't know, but they do wield the power. You're so correct when you say that, to where that this is what the pastor says. This is what the pastor says. The pastor says you're possessed. Or, it could literally be something that crazy.
Yeah.
Or stay with your husband because divorce is a sin. You can't leave. It's a sin. But I'm dying.
Yeah. Or this is why people think, don't call the police if you're beaten or something.
No.
Yeah.
Pray for your husband. But he's punching me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's whether it's lack of knowledge or just religion, I think that sometimes plays such a massive role, just in general with mental health, where it becomes a thing of a Band-Aid, where people try to use that to like, I'm okay in Jesus' name. I'm well in Jesus' name. I'm okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're falling apart.
Yeah.
You're crying yourself to bed every night. You need to talk to someone.
Yeah.
But you have to read Psalm 23. You have to read Psalm 90. And it's like, help.
It's
I'm drowned.
It's not a solution.
It's not,
It's not a
and while,
solution.
like you said earlier, we read our Bible, we pray, but God, like there are other resources that God has put in place for us as communities. Like we thrive in community.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I really appreciated you saying that.
Yeah.
Going back to like couples and seeing how like such friction, such division can start to like prevail in their marriage. Like, what would you say could be something like that they can do to maintain intimacy, connection, under such stress, such financial stress or isolation or cultural stress? Like, what would you say could be some things that before things get too bad, like they could practice together to build, rebuild their connection and to remember the love that they shared, and that it's them against the problem versus them against each other?
I think before things get really, I think talking for sure, talking about the stress, right? Like talking, being open, the communication piece. Like, I'm struggling. It has nothing, I'm struggling. This is happening to me. Like being able to communicate for sure, talking. And I know when we come to a new country, it's about meeting the needs. We need to work, we need to make money, we need to do this. As a couple, the last thing, you are the last. Really, it's not about you as a couple.
True.
It's about finding
Everything
home,
else.
finding home, finding this, finding it. It's about a kid's adjusted, well in school. So it's almost like it's crisis, managing those crises all the time.
Right.
And you forget that when you're well, you're able to manage everything else that's happening in the home. Right. And that is done, of course, through communication, maybe doing things as a couple still, even just going for walks. It doesn't have to cost money. Going for a walk as a couple together. When the kids are in bed, maybe watching TV together for a few minutes. And things like making time for each other. Because I think that's the thing that it's thrown away when life is just busy. But making time for each other as a couple. That you are important to be able to manage all this other stress.
It's one of those things that it's like, yeah, duh, like it's a no-brainer, right? But in practice,
it's hard.
Like it takes a lot of intentionality to be like, the kids are in bed, all right, it's us now. We can't just be like, oh, I'm tired, go to bed, and then 6 months later you realize you haven't had a
connection,
a reasonable conversation, a deep conversation with your partner for that long.
Making time for each other. It's easy for us to always talk about kids. Did they eat? Did they shower? Did they do their homework? Did they? It's easy to just do those every day. For 10 years, you're going to realize, oh my God, that's all we talked about.
Wow,
is the kids. So it's important to know that you are important and that you have to make time for yourselves. And like I said, it doesn't have to cost money.
Right. So before, in healthy situations, of course, there are those situations that are extreme where abuse is involved, or
of course.
A person just does not want to adapt to the new society or the way of life, and so there's so much friction. That's different. But in a healthy environment where you're just in survival mode and the connection is broken and needs to be rebuilt, it's that investing time and talking, and it does not have to cost money, like you said.
Yeah. And again, still, you know what, you could have friends that are a good support. Reach out to them. It doesn't have to be a paid therapist too. Can be a good friend that they're dependable. You can rely on them. Reach out. Again, reach out. Don't do it alone. I think sometimes we want to fix everything on our own for so many reasons.
Right.
We want to keep it private because it's our private matter.
Yeah.
We don't want everybody else to know. Again, probably we are raised that way, that whatever happens at home stays
at
here.
home, yes.
You don't tell anybody and things like that. That doesn't help.
Yeah.
Reach out. Talk to a friend. If you're a church-going person, maybe there's a person, even an elderly person that you sit next to all the time and now you have a good relationship with. Reach out. Talk to somebody. Don't you do it alone.
Don't suffer in silence.
Don't suffer in silence, and don't do it alone.
Yeah. Okay. We've talked a little bit about faith and like how religious or spiritual leaders can have such, authority and power, and we want them to use it wisely. But how do you feel like faith and spirituality or even like cultural rituals, something like in Nigeria as simple as naming ceremony when a baby is born, things like that. Cultural rituals can serve as anchors for emotional healing.
And it does. It does. Even for grief and loss. If somebody dies, I come from a community where we have rituals. We do after 3 days, somebody's buried, there's something we do, or after 40 days and things like that. Those are things that help us with our grieving process, right? So the same thing, naming ceremony, if that is what you do back home, of course, do it here. It's important. There's meaning, there's things that are attached to that.
Yeah.
So definitely.
So how do you feel like those things like faith can serve as anchors for us in like our emotional healing and resilience?
So yeah, and definitely. So faith, again, depending what faith you are, like it doesn't matter. It also it gives us hope.
It does.
So a lot, if you have faith, you're a spiritual person, definitely use it. If praying gives you peace, definitely do it. I know if you're a Muslim and fasting is something that brings you closer to your God, do it. Even Christians do fast.
Yeah.
If there's something that helps you, definitely. And again, with faith, a lot of faith gives us hope. And again, if you're a Christian, the Bible, there's a lot of verses that speaks to different things. Read those verses. It gives you hope, gives you support, definitely anchors you too. Yeah.
How do you feel like immigrants can break the stigma and basically the stigma around therapy and normalize seeking help in cultures that discourage it? Because like your culture, I'm sure mine is like, you're talking to who? Why?
Yeah, why?
Like we've said earlier, like what happens at home stays at home. You're going to talk to a random person about your family secrets. They're just going to, like we've already talked about some of these misconceived notions. How do you feel, how do you find, or how would you say that we've, like from people from these communities like us can go about dismantling or normalizing some of these things that have become stigmas?
Yeah. So again, podcasts like this. Thanks for doing this. I think this is great because again, letting people know that therapy is not for somebody who's crazy, taking their clothes off and cannot
on the streets
and things like that. It's not that. Mental health is like anything else. If somebody has diabetes, would you tell them don't take medication?
No.
Probably not. Would you tell them don't check your blood, your sugar level? Sorry,
Yeah.
You will not. You would encourage them to do that. Mental health is like any other health. It's like any other health. It needs to be taken care of too. Right.
Yeah.
So again, I think as the word expert is a big one. I don't like that word. But again, people who have knowledge, right? If you have an opportunity to talk, let people know. Again, I'm not saying that necessarily only our community leaders or clergy people are the ones that have the responsibility to do that. But I think they have the congregation. They can also use their platform to talk about mental health, to talk about therapy. That's a good thing to access if you can, right? And things like that. So again, all of us, I think, expert or people that have knowledge or people that have a lot of influence in the community should talk about mental health, should encourage people to seek therapy. That therapy is good. And any of us would need therapy. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
I need therapy.
Yeah.
All of us do.
We all need the support.
We all need the support.
Yeah. Because life do be lifing.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you, or what should or what could someone do or say when a friend or family is struggling mentally but refuses to open up, refuses to ask for help or receive help? Like what could a person do?
Let them know you are there. Always let people know that you are there. Let them know that there's a lot of help out there. But let it start with you, non-judgmental. You're not judging anything. Because again, when people think you're going to judge them for maybe some of the choices they are making, your husband is beating you up, or you know what, your husband is saying this, and they feel that you're being judged. Instead of judging them, let them know, you know what, if you want to let them know for sure that you know, there are resources out there. Talk to somebody. They can help you with this and that. And I think the other thing too with people not seeking help, because there's a lot of misconception. If I go for therapy, what if they come and take away my kids? Ooh. Like if they find out that my husband, let's say, there's domestic violence, they may take away my kids. Right? So there's still a lot of misconception, especially being in Canada, not understanding the laws of Canada, not knowing what abuse are and things like that. So it's hard. So there's a lot of, even knowing from them, even why are they not seeking help? You may help with those misconceptions. Right. Because they could say, you know what, no, I don't want them to come here, find out what's going on in my home, and take my kids away. That's your chance there to say, no, they will not take your kids away. You're seeking help, you know, and things like that. So there's a lot of that. Or even, so I think just being there, like the friend being there, non-judgmental, the person knows that you're not judging them, that you really want to help. And hopefully as a friend, you don't give up. You don't get tired and give up.
Just make sure that they know that I can always call. And
you can always call me. I'm here. I want to help whichever way you want.
Yeah. That's like being a safe space for someone and letting them come in their own time when they're ready.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it takes a lot of stripping. Like there's this sense of pride, I feel, and I've seen, and sometimes I have it myself, guilty. But it's just the sense of like, how do I even begin to open my mouth to share what's going on with me? Like everyone sees you and sees, oh, I'm okay, and inside just like dying, you know. And sometimes allowing yourself to be that open, to be that vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage.
And if there's something vulnerable you could share with them, share. If you've gone to therapy yourself, let them know.
Like to build that trust, right?
Let them know that, you know what, I have seek therapy before and it was helpful. Or let them be vulnerable too with them. Let them know.
Right. What would you say are some warning signs of like emotional burnout or mental breakdown that people should not ignore? And sometimes some of these things, people just see it as normal. Like, this is just how I am. I'm anxious, or this is just how I am. Like, what would you say are some of these things that are actually our body crying out, or our hearts or our minds crying out? Like, they're warning signs and that we should not ignore.
So again, we are all so different, right? We are all so different. And again, I've had people that, let's say, they can't even remember the last time they felt different. So they may not even know what is different. Because let's say maybe they've been anxious even all their lives, or feeling just not restless all the time. You know, so again, if you're always restless, that maybe it's something you should get that checked out, talk to somebody. You can even start with your family doctor. Talk to your family doctor. Again, if sleep change, that could be a sign that something is going on, right? If you're crying a lot, that's maybe something that wasn't there. If you're sad a lot, you know, if all of a sudden maybe your body's aching all the time, it wasn't even aching before, you know, a lot of headaches, maybe something that is just different, get it checked out. Get it checked out.
Yeah.
Tired. A lot of people are always tired, let's say. You know, I am always tired. Like, why am I always tired? You know, all of a sudden I'm tired. Or work, burnout, like you said. Now, all of a sudden, a job that you really love, no interest.
Right.
You don't love it anymore. You don't feel like going to work in the morning, let's say. You cannot get up. You're irritable.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah. You're irritable with everybody, irritable with your kids, have no patience.
Just cranky.
Yeah, tolerance not there. Yeah. So again, with any change, talk to somebody, get it checked out. It's not harmful.
Yeah, because sometimes people just are like, I'm just stressed. I just need sleep. I mean, they sleep
Or
and
sleep a lot.
Yeah.
Even sleeping, oversleeping.
Oversleeping is something. Or too less, like not enough sleep.
Yeah, or not eating. You don't, not
Yeah.
eating. So it could be so many things.
Think like people are just sometimes, I know sometimes I'm guilty of this where I'm like, it's fine. Like I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Like like life is too busy right now, or whatever the case may be, to where we now put ourselves on the back burner.
Not taking care of yourself.
Yeah, or not prioritizing.
Yeah, not prioritizing yourself.
Right.
And if there's something that you love to do, any of those changes are important to pay attention to. Talk to a friend. Again, I believe in community. You can come to a therapist and all that, but still you'll have to go back to your life. So it's important to have that network, that social network.
And how would you say, like, because most times we've already talked about this, where when people just move, they're in survival mode. They're just trying to, are the kids okay? School, work, are we getting this job? I have to do this exam because I want to do my career again. Like, so much is happening at once and so many changes are happening at once. And sometimes we're just like expected to just be happy. Like, you're in Canada, like you should be glad you're in Canada, or you should be glad you're in the US, like, whatever. There's this expectation of gratitude and expectation of a performance of gratitude that I just find really disappointing and frustrating, because I'm a human being too. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy to be alive, right? But this kind of sucks, man. Like this situation right now is like, this is not cool. And just being okay with it not being cool for a moment, We're not trying to live in a pity party, but just even like allowing yourselves to acknowledge it. Like, that's often not something that I find Black people do. Go. You gotta put, oh, this happened. Okay, fine. But moving on to the next thing. This didn't work because it's that thing of like survival.
Or even the messaging that, let's say people like, well, at least you're lucky you're in the States, or at least you're lucky you're in Canada. What are you complaining about? So again, maybe from other people putting that pressure, but even you putting that pressure on you, because again, coming to Canada, where you're so excited, you really, it's a build-up. I'm coming to Canada, life is gonna be great, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that.
Right.
And then you come and reality hits, and lots of disappointment. And yes, there's gonna be a period of depression, because again, it didn't turn out the way you hoped.
Yeah.
Like you hoped. Again, the grief. What you thought was gonna be, what was not. Right?
Yeah.
And that is okay. It's okay for us to be sad for a minute. That's okay. It doesn't mean that your mental health is horrible.
Right.
It's just normal. Again, to normalize some of these things.
Yeah.
Right? That it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay. And
like, sometimes one thing I know shook me when I first moved here was my sense of self and identity. Because me, this proud Lagos girl, born and raised, I'm from Edo, like, there's pride in my identity, and all of a sudden I'm a Black person. I've never been called a Black person in my life before. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm a Black woman. That's not
surprise.
Surprise, indeed, because that's just how the society and the system works here. Is that there are these divisions that exist, and there races that exist here, and they have their own like assigned titles and names and all these things and identities. So an identity I never had before in my life, came onto me. And maybe you had this experience too, because you also moved. But I know that kind of messed with me for a long time, really, to where it's like, but I'm Nigerian, I don't understand this Black person thing. But then you don't have a choice. You're Black. You're like, no one asks for your permission before they call you Black. You are Black because you present as a Black person. And so even like the isolation and the grief and like everything cooked into one nasty cocktail, and it just feels like who am I and where am I and where are my people, who are my people, and so many new experiences. You're dealing with the grief, you're still trying to assimilate into the society while going to school, while doing this and doing that. How would you say that a person can reclaim their identity or reclaim their sense of self, or and reclaim their joy in being?
You're talking about a sense of accepting almost, right? Like accepting who I am in this society. And again, I can and I can speak about myself. Like it took some time. It took some time because again, there's a lot of, oh my God, I need to fit in. Like I need to fit in. I need to be understood. I need to speak in a way that I'm understood.
Yep.
Oh my God, I need to I need to do this. So it took some time. It took some time to find myself and feel comfortable truly. And as a therapist too, is where that self-compassion comes in. Right? That is where I talk a lot about that, right?
Yeah.
Like whereby accepting who we are,
Right.
the way we are. And also, if let's say something didn't go the way I wanted it to go, is whereby I forgive myself sometimes for that. Like, yeah, no, it didn't go the way I wanted it to go.
That's fine, yeah.
It's fine, be sad about it a little bit. So
Yeah.
it takes for sure some time. Right? And what I'm thinking is that also talking about it. What is it about you that you feel you lost? Like, what is it? What is it being called Black here that threw you off, let's say? Just processing that even more. Understanding that more.
Right.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I'm trying to think. That's a big one.
Because like it's
that's
not
a big one.
Because it's not just being called Black, it's all the things that come with it.
That comes, you're talking about like racism and things like that?
Yeah, and now all of a sudden you're not, you're sub, there are literally systems that are designed to not favor you. And like, people can look at you and make wild assumptions about who you are, about where you're from. The moment you don't have a European or white or American accent, you're presumed stupid. Like there are all these like lived things that you experience and you're like, what? This is not the Canada I was promised, and or this is not the abroad I was promised, or wherever like the case may be. And you talked about self-compassion. That's very valuable. When I first moved here, I didn't know that term. I didn't know what that was.
I know.
And like it's something I do try to practice every day. Just breathe and not like absorb it.
Yeah.
It's possible to witness without absorbing. And it's still one of those things though where it's like.
So again, I don't want to gloss over racism because racism is there.
Yeah.
Racism is there.
Yeah.
Racism is, we experience it every day. If it's at work, shopping, all these places is there. And it does impact us negatively, definitely. It's a contributor also to our mental health too. Yeah. It does affect our mental health as well, right? Yeah. So again, like you said, there's systems that are built in place that does not favor us, right? And that's where also therapy is so important, is to talk to somebody about that. So for example, if you're experiencing racism at work, let's say, what kind of things can you do? What kind of systems, if there are any, are in place that you can access to help you with that? If it's unionized, is there a place, can you go to a union and talk to them about it, right? So again, and that's a bigger topic too, because as a Black woman, I could choose to say, you know what, I don't want to confront that because I could lose my job. If I speak up, what if I lose my job? What if the backlash with that? there's an impact with that. But if I choose also not to say anything, there's a personal cost to that.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes some of those choices, difficult choices that we have to make, and there are consequences to those choices.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to make those choices.
Yeah. 100%. Thank you. Thank you for being honest with that too, with that topic. I know it is a larger topic. We could
Yeah.
talk about that one alone for the
Yeah.
next couple of hours, because like that we spoke a little bit beforehand, and I shared with you that there are some people who have said, "Oh, I've been in this country for this number of years. I've never experienced racism," and like in my head, I'm like, "You've probably experienced some things, but did not associate it to
because
racism."
it's so insidious too.
Yeah.
It is so insidious. So sometimes you're like, is it?
Am I overthinking?
Is it racism? Yeah, is it?
Yeah.
No. What?
No.
So
Yeah.
it can be quite insidious where you're thinking it's probably in my head. Maybe nothing happened.
Maybe it's because of another reason, not
No,
because of
something happened.
Yeah.
If you're feeling that way and questioning a lot, no, something did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Pivoting for a moment.
Okay.
As we round up, because of course we could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But I wanna ask this question, and maybe another one we'll see to round up. For now. Okay, 2 more questions.
Okay.
I'll ask you 2 more questions. Okay. What are some simple grounding exercises or daily habits that can help people, immigrants, manage anxiety, manage stress, or feeling overwhelmed?
I am a big proponent of breathing. It's something we could do ourselves. We could do it with nobody else knowing that we are. So deep breathing exercise. I find that deep breathing really helps with anxiety, helps a lot with that when we're not feeling grounded. So breathing, I find breathing exercises really helps. Grounding exercises, I mean, if you're somebody who loves to meditate, please do. Guided meditation or meditation in general really helps. I like guided meditation because I cannot quiet my brain. So I need somebody to tell me, please do this, breathe and do this. Exercise. When I talk about exercise, I'm not talking about going to the gym and running. Go for a walk. Move in your apartment. Move around. Move your body. Sometimes that's the last thing we want to do. When we are sad, we are tired, we are depressed, that's the last thing we want to do. You need to do that. Go for a walk. Exercise, go for a walk. If you're going to the gym, great, but that's not what I'm saying. Just moving your body. That's stretching. Sometimes when we're so stressed, we're so tense, we're so tight, please stretch. Making sure that you're just doing simple stretches. And again, simple things like sleep. Sleep is so important. Making sure that we're sleeping. Making sure that we're eating. You know, so those basic things that we already know.
Right.
Those are things that are going to help us get through some of these difficult times. You know, eating. Reach out to a friend when you're struggling. Reach out to somebody. Don't do it alone. Always ask.
Yes, thank you for that. And our final question, what message of hope and self-compassion would you share with anyone silently struggling or, struggling to adjust or to even belong?
Many of us have done it. You can do it too. I know that is, and I don't want it to come like, yes, because I did it, you can do it too. No, I don't want it to say that. All I want to say is that you will get through this. It's tough, no question about it. It's difficult, no question about it. You made the journey to come here. It's one of the difficult things you could do, right? See, again, there is help. I know it's not easily accessible, but when you ask, somebody will tell you. Always ask.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ayen. You have a practice.
Yes.
Tell us where people can find you. Tell us more about what you do and where people can find you.
So again, like you already mentioned earlier, I'm a
Yes.
mental health therapist. I have my own private practice. You can reach me at AM Counseling Services.
Right.
My phone number is 825-735-0377. Yeah, and I do have an office. Again, I do virtual, I do telephone, I do in person, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Ayen, for
Yes.
sharing your heart with us and your story
Thank
with
you.
us. Just appreciate you so much.
Thank you. This is great. You're doing a great job. This is amazing.
Well, thank
Keep
you.
doing it.
I received that. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
To our listeners, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Thank you for listening in today. I hope you're able to learn a lot from Ayen as she shared so much about her experience, so much about the resources that are available. Just ask. That's one massive thing I took away from today. So thank you so much. We'll see you on the next episode. Please follow us, join the community, follow us on Instagram and wherever you listen. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's amazing. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this season of Afros in the Diaspora, the Experts Corner. Thank you so much for watching, for sharing, and for being a part of these conversations. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Afros in the Diaspora to stay connected and to see what's next. I am Sarah Owadiai, and this has been the Experts Corner.